right, guys, we'd like to thank Brinkley for allowing us to do the factory tour.
Yeah, that was really cool.
And film it and share it with you guys. Brinkley is doing some things very different. This facility is very impressive.
Very state of the art.
Yeah, I think you're going to find it very impressive, and I'm sure you'll want to come check it out as well if you can. But hey, Brinkley is making a difference, and competition in the industry is a good thing for all of us, because their quality appears to be really good, customer service appears to be really good.
And I think you'll be fascinated by this tour and everything that we found out today.
Yeah, so without further ado, let's jump into the video.
We sold our house along with almost everything we owned, and we packed up the RV to live a lifestyle on the road. Now we're free from sticks and bricks and that old life we used to know. Come and join on our adventures, all the places that we'll go. And living in the RV is sublime. Destination Fulltime.
When we were laying out campus, we had engineers from Purdue University come in and both help us lay out the campus as a whole, but also help us lay out the individual facilities. So you'll notice, obviously, we use a lot of mezzanine space, and when we get a little further in the tour, I'll take you up there so you can kind of get the bird's eye view and the roof and all that stuff. But also just to be able to also store as much stuff inside as possible too. This is Indiana, obviously, so in the wintertime you do get the snow and the ice and the salt and all that stuff. So being able to keep as much stuff inside and out of the elements as possible is a big plus for us. Even some of the stuff, and you can kind of see as we were walking over, some of the stuff that does get stored outside is underneath overhangs, so it's still kept, out of the elements and stuff like that. We're also the only RV manufacturer that has both heated and air-conditioned facilities, which is a huge plus for our production workforce. Technically, workstation number one. So this is how they come in as the bare chassis. Obviously, I talked about being able to store and keep as much stuff inside as possible. Obviously, some of these big chassis, we can't do that, so they do get kept outside. However, you can see here behind you guys, at the end of the day, they'll bring in the ones they're gonna start on the next day. Not a huge deal this time of year, but obviously in the winter time, this lets them get inside, get acclimated to the weather, the temperature before they start working. Again, going back to the number of over 40% of folks are living in these, and so, what does that mean, right? That's putting your house on wheels and you're driving it up and down the road, sometimes 4 or 5 times a week. I mean, I don't know how long people actually stay in certain spots, but so we got to build these things pretty rigid to be able to withstand that beating that they're going to take going over, which I'm sure we could have a debate over which area of the country has the worst roads, because everybody thinks that their area has the worst roads. But so a couple things that we do a little different. Number one, there's 2 towable manufacturers. Us and Airstream are the only ones that send our chassis through the powder coating machine individually. So rather than, to save time and money, stacking them and sending them through, in which case then you got to go back and you got to try to touch up the areas that haven't, that got missed because they were stacked. We send them through individually, which is why you see the nice even powder coating. We use bigger tubing. We use additional steel gussets. We'll add additional outriggers in key places just to be able to bear that weight and take that beating of going up and down the road. From here, I talked a little bit about all your tanks are going to have 12-volt thermostat control tank heaters. So they are 4 Seasons coaches. They're tested. I always put an asterisk next to it because 4 Seasons can obviously mean a lot of different things. You guys are up in Michigan. 4 Seasons means something different to somebody. I know you said you spent some time out in Arizona, so those seasons are going to be much different, right? But all the units are tested to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So with the tank heaters, with the the underbelly heat that I'll show, the insulation, they are tested down to 0 degrees. If you're going to go much past that, then you want to look at obviously some additional precautions, skirting, etc., things like that. But for the most part, they are going to be 4 Seasons coaches. Another thing I like to point out, we will advertise that it's okay to travel with your tanks full. Now, obviously, you want to be cognizant of the fact that if your tanks are all full, that does add a substantial amount of weight. Not that you're ever going to get great gas mileage pulling these things anyways, but you want to make sure that your truck and everything can handle it. But I do like that this one's flipped over because you can see why we advertise that way. So these tanks are sitting in these, and rather than use just the straps like a lot of other companies will do, these are sitting in these 90-degree steel brackets. They've got these brackets underneath, and then also if you look down in, they've also got similar brackets like this on what would be on the top side when it's flipped back over. So they're in there nice and sturdy. I mean, that's not going anywhere. So the other thing I like to point out, which they've already kind of wired this one up, we're the only towable manufacturer that utilizes a wire harness, pre-assembled, pre-tested. Whereas a lot of other companies will wire the coach up, then test it. We already know that our wiring is already functional and works before it ever goes in the coach. The other thing that's cool with the harness is it's all individually labeled as well. So if you're handy and we're going to do some service work or something yourself, or if you take it to a shop or have a mobile tech come out, it's all individually labeled, so it's easy to identify and they know exactly what they're working on. This is the jig where they would build it, so they obviously haven't started on the one yet for tomorrow, but what's cool is they'll build them upside down. The idea behind that is all that shakeout that you guys find in your campers, sometimes 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the road, sawdust falling out. The idea is while we've got it flipped upside down, all the drilling, all the screwing, all that stuff that's going on, that shakeout's falling down into the jig as opposed to sitting in your roof. We do use wood trussing, so it's going to be built very similar to your residential home. Every 16 inches on center. We'll double up trusses at your heavier air conditioned joints. What Josh is throwing around down there is our ducting that we'll use. So you'll have 3 air conditioners. Obviously you can see how your bedroom AC would be ducted into the bathroom. Your back AC also ducted into your garage, so on and so forth. Kind of a 3-part process. So we'll use that same Eternabond tape that I talked about with your floor. They'll use that, they'll use a commercial grade butyl, and then also our trim pieces themselves are also Mylar backed. So as they screw down these trim pieces, between the Mylar, the butyl, and the Eternabond is what creates that watertight seal that you don't have to worry about, getting anything in. So as opposed to having to go crazy with the staple gun and then try to cover it up with putty, and then honestly, like, the putty never matches color wise, no matter how hard you try, so you can always,
it doesn't age well.
And if you have OCD like me, it'll just drive you bonkers. You're always that's the first thing you're gonna spot. You can see the lighting changes. We try to light it up like a tanning bed over here so that we can spot any imperfections. In addition to the additional lighting, the PDI folks also have flashlights, and they go through these things with a fine-tooth comb, trying to spot anything they can. Then as we get to here, does anybody know what this station is?
Wait station?
No. Close.
Jiggle.
Yes. This is our shaker table. So every single unit will go on this shaker table. It's gonna run for about 45 seconds. Just shake the crap out of the whole coach. Essentially we want to see if anything's gonna fall apart, come loose, whatever. We want it to happen now.
Simulates a 600-mile road trip. So it puts the same stress on it that you would if you towed the whole thing.
See, I learned something new too. I usually say 200. I usually say 250 miles. So
That's the Z1. The G1's different.
See,
Because the Z1 is one table. We have individuals. We can do undulation.
Okay.
Back and forth. No big deal. It's a little bit better.
there you go. So 600-mile road trip. So essentially, again, going up and down these roads, beating the unit up. We're doing that for you here just to make sure that everything's going to hold. And then from here, it's going to go straight forward to what my man.
What'd you guess?
What's this next station?
The way station.
Perfect. So if you look up above, so there's also 360-degree cameras. So
this is all the wiring.
every unit is going to get weighed, so it has to get an individual weight for your Fed tag. And then we're also going to take a 360 picture of the exterior of the coach. And then we've also got folks that have like handheld cameras like he's got here that will actually go inside the unit, get interior pictures as well. Essentially the PDI process, what we're trying to do is we're trying to put it through your first camping trip. So from the 600-mile road trip simulation to firing everything up, making sure all your lights, all your appliances, everything works the way it's supposed to work.
Living in the RV is sublime. Destination full time.